NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley is following this morning's court hearing. Also with us, Chief Economic Correspondent for Axios, Neil Irwin, and former federal prosecutor Ankush Khardori. So, Ryan, the hearing is underway. Have there been any developments yet?
It is. Our colleague Julia Jester is in the courthouse now reporting back. And what the judge is essentially saying, Judge Cobb is laying out, the importance of this case and sort of laying out a schedule for how this will proceed. Obviously, this is sort of an expedited issue that they're trying to get moved through the courts quickly and try to get a resolution, because this could have such widespread effects on the independence of the board. Obviously, Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has denied those mortgage allegations, and essentially they're saying that once the confirmation process played out, and now she's already been confirmed, what are the new standards that removal would require? What is the bar that they are required to reach? So Judge Cobb is still hearing this as we right now, Anna.
So what happens in the meantime as this legal battle continues? Is Cook going to keep doing her job as this fight plays out?
She's trying to, yeah. She's saying she's going to stay in the position she's in. So we're in sort of delicate territory here about where everything falls. We've seen a number of these battles with the Trump administration trying to push people out, or pushing people out, or claiming to fire them, and a lot of these have ended up going to court and playing out over longer periods of time. But the Federal Reserve is a little bit of a different animal here, in that the independence of it is really essential to how the federal board operates overall, how the Federal Reserve operates overall. So it's not supposed to be like these typical executive branch agencies. They're supposed to be this sort of baked-in independence to stop some of the moves that Donald Trump is trying to make right now. So that's what Judge Cobb is sort of working through at the moment.
Okay. Ryan, thank you. Keep us posted. Ankush, what do you expect out of this hearing? Are we going to hear from any members of the Federal Reserve?
I don't know. It's remains to be seen. This is such a strange sort of situation we're in. I don't think that the judge needs to hear from anyone at the Federal Reserve necessarily to rule on the application she has before her. Remains to be seen what she'll do, but I would expect, under the circumstances, she should issue a ruling pretty quickly on whether or not there's cause here. I think the standard. I know it's been much debated on here and elsewhere, but the notion that you can fire someone on the Fed based on a transparent pretext, it cannot possibly be the case that if the law is correctly applied, that would constitute "quote unquote" cause to discharge her. It has nothing to do with her duties, and even if it were true, it has nothing to do with her duties. And there is no allegation of actual malfeasance, except for the one that was cooked up by the president's partisan head of the housing agency, who none of us even heard of a month ago. I mean, the guy is just like a partisan. He spun this up, and it's now become the fodder for what I think is pretty obviously a pretextual effort to remove her because Trump wants to replace her in lower interest rates.
So you don't think the legal case against her has much strength to it?
Look, it should not. It should not. The big question here is whether after the district judge does whatever she's going to do, the appellate court does whatever they're going to do, it goes up to the Supreme Court, and they do what they have been doing quite a bit for the last year, which is changing the law, either quietly or affirmatively, and granting President Trump powers to do things in the executive branch, including firing people at the commissions, the rank and file, and all these things that he would not ordinarily have been able to do a year or two ago if the Supreme Court were applying the standards that have long been in place for these sorts of removals at every level of the executive branch.
Neil, the New York Times writes, quote, today, the future of the Fed and whether it will continue to operate as an independent institution or become subject to the whims of the White House rests largely on Cook's shoulders. Just how high are the stakes of this case?
Yeah, very high. The Federal Reserve Act 111 years ago set up this system where Federal Reserve governors, they get these 14-year terms, they're staggered. The idea is that a new president comes in, they can't just clean house and put in their own people who will do exactly what the president wants. That's what Fed independence means, central bank independence means. The issue for the court right now is not so much the details of Lisa Cook's mortgage, whether she said it was a primary residence when she shouldn't have. The issue is, can the president decide what constitutes cause unilaterally and make this decision without any kind of formal process, without any clear proof that Lisa Cook made any mistakes at all. And that's what's really at issue here. Not debating the details of her mortgage from 4 years ago, but can the president just say, I'm firing you, I have cause, I can remake the Fed as I wish?
Neil, people who know Cook personally say for her, this is not a fight about her job, but a fight about what's right. She has been a trailblazer in her academic and her professional career. How does she see the stakes of this fight? And what else do we need to know about her background?
Yeah, that's why I say, it's not about the details of the mortgage. It's about this principle that, she was confirmed by the U.S. Senate to a 14-year term. All of this stuff that's being discussed happened before she was nominated, and that if you have this world where the president can do whatever he wants, you no longer have an independent central bank. You have a very different kind of economic regime, and not just Lisa Cook. I think all economists, the vast majority of economists, view that as a very important principle if you're going to get sound technocratic decision making that results in the U.S. economy being stronger and having lower inflation over the long term.
Ankush, we've been talking about this not just today, but for a while now. The president has been attempting or threatening to use the legal system against many political rivals. You're a former federal prosecutor. Do you think the legal system can hold under President Trump's pressure campaign?
Look, that's a very big question. I think we have to draw some distinctions. The allegations that are being used to try to criminally investigate Adam Schiff, Letitia James, on their face, they seem to be pretty thin. They're not the sort of thing, and Lisa Cook, I should say, they're not the sort of things that the Justice Department typically tries to go out and find, much less actually prosecutes as federal criminal fraud. If if there are ever charges that emerges from actual criminal charges that emerge from these cases, I would be surprised if these cases got resolved in favor of the Justice Department based on what we know now. The question, though, as for Cook, is that these allegations, of course, are not really being used even necessarily as revenge per se or retaliatory. They're being used in a slightly different way, in a sort of an abuse of power in order to create a pretext to make a policy move that is contravened, I think, as Neil explained, by everyone's expectations in Congress when they set up the Fed in the first place.
Neil, for decades, America has been the gold standard when it comes to our economy. But right now, we're seeing it being questioned in so many ways with all of the president's actions, the tariffs, the pressuring the Fed, his so-called big, beautiful bill. Where do you see our economy in a year?
Look, right now things are pretty solid. The unemployment rate's low 4% range. Inflation has ticked up some, but is not nearly as high as it was a couple of years ago. The question is what comes next. I was just in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a couple weeks or 1 week ago, where the Federal Reserve was meeting, and there's central bankers from around the world there, from all kinds of countries, who historically have looked to the United States and the Federal Reserve for how to set up economic institutions that deliver good results. And you see people there from countries like Turkey and Argentina that have these checkered histories of direct political control over all aspects of economic policy, economic data, and their results have tended not to be as good as what we've had in the United States over the last century. So the question is, as some of these institutions come under threat and the very underpinnings of this success are in question, can we keep up that track record of relatively low inflation, low unemployment, and a solid financial markets?
Neil Irwin and Ankush Khardori, thank you both for joining us this morning. Appreciate your reporting, your insight.